by praising Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we take refuge with Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil consequence of our evil actions. Anyone whom Allah guides, no one can misguide. But anybody whom Allah leaves to go astray, no one can guide. And I testify that Allah alone is worthy of worship, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. So brothers and sisters, today's topic is the topic of living legends. Now, what is a legend? A legend is either a story that no one really knows whether the story is completely true or not, but it is a very famous story. It could be something that is known by everybody in the world, or it could be something that is known locally. But a person who is a legend, similarly, is a person who is really well known. Not necessarily, by the way, for something good. A legend could be someone who's legendarily bad as well. So both things are possibilities. And of course, some people are legends within a very narrow framework. So some people are legends, but only amongst a group of people. So for example, if you're like me, you are you're very interested in a particular type of sport, then you will probably know a list of names of people within that sport who are legends. But especially if the sport you're into is a very sort of niche sport, then almost nobody else would have heard of those people, but to you they're really, really famous. That's a little bit the case with the Muslim community, for example, right? There are people, there are scholars, there are imams, there are du'at, who amongst us are legends. But outside the Muslim community, or even the English-speaking Muslim community, very often no one has ever heard about those people. And then there are people who everybody, everywhere seems to know about. Now, one of the things, brothers and sisters, is that this is something I've thought about the issue of fame. And there are people today who are so famous. I was looking recently about YouTubers. You know what YouTubers are, probably better than me, right? And who are the top ranking YouTubers in the world. Now, it's interesting that, totally forgotten his name now. There's this singer, super famous Canadian singer, Justin Bieber, that's it. Now, Justin Bieber is he's up there in the top, 5 or 6 as a YouTuber, right? But despite that, he's super famous. His Facebook page, his Twitter, whatever, is millions and millions of people follow that guy. And I am sure that throughout history, you will find that the people who are known throughout history, within a very specific, narrow time frame, they may be very well known in that time frame. But after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 100 years, who's even heard of them? Right? Can anyone name me the most famous gladiator in Rome? No, not Russell Crowe. Good try though, bro. I was thinking someone was going to come out with that one. But Rome. I mean, there's a time when I used to travel up and down the country a lot, and I used to go up north quite a lot. Now, I had a habit that I developed really early on, or whenever I traveled somewhere in the UK, I made an effort to give myself a little bit of extra time to see something, to see some place of historical or scientific or natural interest. Go for a walk in the countryside, see some beautiful scenery, visit, a place in history. And one of the places I always used to visit again and again when I went up north was Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall. Now, Hadrian's Wall, if you don't know, is a wall, right? Yes, a wall like Hadrian, there are these guys who build walls, right? So Trump got his, it's not a new idea, right? So this Roman Emperor Hadrian built a wall to keep out one of the very few tribes, one of the few groups of people that the Romans never managed to conquer, and that was the Scots, the Celts at the time. They were super fierce fighters. They were constantly attacking and bothering the Romans. The Romans, I think, in fact, there's a legendary Roman legion. I think it was I don't remember which, the 11th or 13th legion that disappeared completely in the north of Scotland, totally disappeared. Went off to fight the Scots and was never heard of again. No one ever knows what happened to them, the lost legion. You know, they were the most efficient fighting machine, maybe even in history of their time. I mean, you know, but in history, comparatively, if you think of it in relative terms, they were truly militarily amazing. They were amazing. But still, they couldn't keep control of these Celts, so this guy built this wall. And, you know, so I used to go to Hadrian's Wall. And why did I do this? Because, brothers and sisters, Allah tells us in the Quran, He tells us in the Quran, travel the earth and see the consequence of those people who rejected faith. This is something Allah tells us to do in the Quran. He says, travel the earth, see the ruins, see the remains of these people who were greater than you in wealth, greater than you in power, greater than you in strength, greater than you in buildings and all of these things. They were greater than you, and see the remains, see what is left of them. And this is a very important reminder that we need to remind ourselves of, brothers and sisters. Especially in this time, when we look at the might and the power of empires and nations and countries, and maybe we feel scared, but listen, put it into perspective. Go to Hadrian's Wall and then do what I did. I used to stand there and I used to look south. And I would say, once, this is what I would say to myself, even though I said, well, I'd go with brothers. I said, brothers, think about this. Once upon a time, a Roman legionnaire stood in this wall. And like us, he looked south. And he thought to himself, as far as I can travel and as far as we can go is Rome. He could go from England, down through Britain, across the Channel, down through France, down through Spain, into North Africa, until they would reach a desert, and as far as they knew, there was nothing beyond that desert. All of that belonged to one empire and was ruled by one man, the Emperor of Rome. And they had their superstars. They had their gladiators who were known all over the empire. Everyone would have known the name of these top gladiators, like the athletes of our time. They had singers. They had actors. They had plays. All of these things they had. Philosophers, intellectuals. Yet most human beings will not know their names. Even the Emperor Hadrian, we probably only remember him because he built the wall. And that might be the irony of American civilization. The only name people might remember is Trump. Yeah, the Trump wall, right? Because he built the wall, right? Do you know any other president? No, but Trump built the wall, right? Who knows, right? But the point being, brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to make is look how temporary is the life of this world. Look how these people who are so powerful, nothing is left except ruins. Nothing, just ruins. Yet, there is a name from ancient times. I don't know how long ago Ibrahim alayhi salam lived. He was not famous in his time. He was not famous in his time, brothers and sisters. Who do you think in the whole world had heard of Abraham? Maybe a few people. Oh yeah, that troublemaking young boy who knocked down our idols. We threw him into a fire. But who do you think in the whole world, of all the people had heard of Abraham? Right? Think about it. But today, 1.6 billion Muslims, human beings, in their prayer, they make salawat upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and along with that they ask Allah to bless the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the same way that he blessed Ibrahim and the family of Ibrahim. And not only that, 1.5 or whatever, I don't know if we're equal with Christianity yet or they're slightly behind us now. Every Christian also knows who Abraham is. And every Jew knows who Abraham is. And probably a whole lot of people who are not even Jews or Christians still have heard of Abraham. Yet he was unknown in his time. But who has not heard of Abraham today? Who has not heard of the Abrahamic faith today? Subhanallah, brothers and sisters. Think about that. Think about that when you worry about how many likes you've got on your Facebook page or your Twitter account or your Instagram, whatever. Think about it seriously. You see, what I really want to say to you today, brothers and sisters, I want to actually tell you how to be a legend. Some people will tell you about how to be a hero. And they'll give you a course on how to be a hero. But I'm going to tell you something better. Right? How to be a legend. How to be a legend. Right? And you don't even need to go on my course, although I wish you would. Right? I'll just mention it very briefly. You can go and check it out, please. masteryclasses.com. I've got an amazing course. I think it's amazing anyway. 7 Pillars of Willpower. But anyway, I'm not going to promo it. I'm just mentioning it very quickly. But how to be a legend. I will tell you how to be a legend, brothers and sisters. Here it is. It takes quite a lot. There's no doubt it takes effort, it takes dedication, it takes true grit, it takes determination, it takes patience, it takes willpower. Actually, all the same thing, more or less. Right?